Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I appreciate you being a viewer and a subscriber. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money. Folks, in an interesting new development, Congressman Tom Reed, the Republican from New York, who by the way is a co-chair of the Problem Solvers Caucus, along with Josh Gottheimer, the Democrat from New Jersey. Remember, it was a Problem Solvers Caucus that worked very hard to try and pass the second round of stimulus, the second major round of stimulus last year. And they did play an important role in getting the $900 billion stimulus passed. I actually find that some of the best ideas come from the Problem Solvers Caucus, but the question is, can they get the support of the leadership? Can they get the support of the senior members who have more influence, who have more ability to get bills passed in Congress? So, in the latest interview, and by the way, I'll break down that interview into two segments. So I encourage you to watch the video all the way through to the end. Tom Reed said that he has secured bipartisan support to pass $160 billion in standalone funding for vaccine distribution. Pretty interesting. By the way, I'll share my own experience with the vaccine today. Actually, I'll share that with you in a couple of minutes. But first, let's take a look at this first segment with Tom Reed, the Republican from New York, where he says, let's work together to pass standalone $160 billion in money for vaccine distribution. Let's roll the tape and hear from Congressman Reed.
We need to be working together. That's why we, in the Problem Solvers Caucus, broke off $160 billion for immediate vaccine distribution and assistance. We should come to agreement easily on that. We got variants going on in the economy. We got things that are with the variants in the virus itself that need to be addressed. Let's work together to get this out the door ASAP.
Now, in the second segment, Reed highlights the importance of working together to achieve a goal. He says, we need further relief. Let's do it in a targeted way. Let's be smart about it. He did comment on the former U.S. Treasury Secretary Lawrence Summers, who basically said that such a large stimulus was not necessary. And he said, let's not go too far. Let's hear Reed talking about this. Let's roll the tape.
Now you're getting it. And that's where I think the American people are. They recognize, as Republicans and Democrats, that our fellow Americans need help and that they need relief. But you can do this in a targeted way, especially just when we got $900 billion out the door. The Problem Solvers Caucus came together, got that taken care of on December 27th this year, and just this past year. And that money's still going out of the door here in Washington, D.C. So let's be smart. And that's what Larry Summers, remember, he's an economic advisor of President Clinton, President Obama. And he was a Treasury Secretary that really gets it now. He's understanding that, look, don't go too far. Make sure you get that Goldilocks type of position. And I got to tell you, I think he's onto something here. And there's Republicans that want to work with President Biden, that want to come up with a targeted package that can be reasonable and give the relief to our fellow Americans that we need. That's where I think we just need to be smart. And don't worry about the politics. We're in an emergency. We're in a crisis. Let's work together.
Now, I promised I would talk to you about my own experience. Here's my own vaccination card. I actually got vaccinated today. I got the Pfizer vaccine and I'm going back in 3 weeks to get my second shot. So that was my experience. And I understand, I actually felt that the overall organization, the Army was involved. I saw the National Guard. They were very, very, very nicely organized in my neck of the woods when I went and got my vaccine shot. So there's clearly more funding, more resources that are necessary for vaccine distribution. And hopefully, if you've made a decision to get a vaccine, you can get it soon as well. But let's get back to the next segment with Congressman Reed. And he said, reasonable Republicans like us in the Problem Solvers Caucus want to work together with the president to succeed, because when the president succeeds, we all succeed. Let's hear from Tom Reed.
It is absurd to be telling working class people, somebody who has a decent union job, they're making $55,000, $60,000. Sorry, you're not eligible for the program. Makes no sense to me at all, nor do I think it makes sense to the American people.
Congressman, you heard that, and you've heard what other Democrats have said. It sounds as though there is significant support among Democrats for a much wider stimulus. How is the government eventually going to pay for all of this additional stimulus?
No, exactly. I think that's where recognizing that as you do reconciliation and try to do this as a one-party only and not look to reasonable Republicans like us in the Problem Solvers Caucus that want to work together, find common ground, and say 80% is a victory, not a defeat. I think you're going to see as we go through this process more and more of us stepping up. Let's put the American people first, and what this divide that you're seeing from Bernie Sanders and others start to come into focus. There's going to be a need for us to step up and have a conversation. And to the President Biden, we want you to succeed. As a Republican, who believes in America. We want the president to succeed. We wanted President Trump to succeed, because when the presidency wins and when the Congress works, America wins. That's what we should be focused on as we go forward.
And in the final segment, and I believe this is an important segment, he says there's 75% consensus. 56 members from the House of Representatives have gotten together with the Problem Solvers Caucus to push $160 billion standalone vaccine relief bill to get it out the door ASAP. Let me know whether you agree with this in the comment section below. It's very important for there to be money for vaccine distribution, and that shouldn't get stuck in the larger conversation about all the other aspects of stimulus. Remember, this is a massive undertaking. Should there be a standalone bill so that money can go out for vaccine testing, tracing, and distribution? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's hear from Congressman Tom Reed. Let's roll the tape.
You say, you're willing to support the president. You're getting indication that the president, the White House, that maybe moderate Democrats are willing to come to meet you on this?
They are, and that's why we were able to break out this $160 billion in the Problem Solvers Caucus.
Right.
We got to bipartisan support. We got to our 75% consensus. We were able to say 56 members of us came together, say $160 billion vaccine relief, get it out the door ASAP. The White House has met with us. The olive branch goes to the presidency because it's time to set party politics and partisanship behind us. We were in an emergency. We got 200,000 potential deaths over the next 2 months. We cannot break down. We need to prevent those deaths. Let's get the vaccine. Let's get that out there and then find the common ground as we go through this process.
That's it, everyone. Pretty interesting comments from Tom Reed, the Republican congressman from New York. Let me know if you agree with his idea, with the Problem Solvers Caucus proposal of trying to do a $160 billion standalone bill first before everybody works on the larger items, which actually is an ongoing process. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notification. That would mean a lot to me. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.